I'm going to the park to do some rope flow, which I love doing because it works the shit out of my core. And it has made me so strong and so athletic and so coordinated in such a short period of time. But what I realized is that a lot of people aren't doing it because they don't understand like deeply how and why it works. People don't understand how effective simple tools are. And a rope is like, it's such a primal thing. Incredibly useful for multiple reasons. I love rope flow because it's such a simple tool and a simple movement relative to javelin. Javelin is this highly complex, high risk, high speed movement. And it's all about releasing energy in a very specific direction. Rope flow is a very simple movement relatively. And you do it at a slower pace, and it's rhythmic in that it has a full circular returning momentum that you keep recycling. So you're basically learning how to recycle energy instead of release energy. What we don't do in training a lot of the time is we're always releasing energy, or we're pushing it one direction and bringing it back, but we're not learning how to recycle it. We're not learning the natural fascial patterns that people actually need to move well. And so we put athletes in sports and training where we don't train recycling of energy. We don't train rhythm, we don't train dance moves, we don't train fascial patterns, we don't train recovery patterns, basically. As soon as I started doing these movements, I started to notice that I could groove in any movement way, way, way faster. The thing I really noticed is that it helped me finesse movement. And think like a javelin is a highly finessed sport. That's what you're doing, one thing to perfection over and over and over again. I learned how to put a ton of precision into my javelin throw because I learned how to nuance a rope. Your hands have to become like the rope. They have to become incredibly dexterous. When you only interact with one object all the time, like a javelin, there's not a lot of give on that. And you're really just trying to organize your body around it so you don't hurt yourself. The rope is more forgiving. The rope allows you to whack yourself and not hurt yourself, or throw it, so to speak, but not let it go. And it is the nature of it to teach you things. The reason I love rope flow for throwing and why I wish I'd done it way sooner as an athlete, especially as a thrower, is that throwers are constantly releasing energy. And we'll do reverse throws, and we'll bench, and we'll squat, and we'll whatever, there's lots of things we can do. But a lot of the time we are focusing on releasing energy and not recycling energy or gathering energy. And it's kind of the third phase. Throwing is an apex human movement. And I think we lose some of the earlier stuff because we don't teach people how to generate movement in a really clean fashion, in a way that optimizes for how they pull energy out of the ground. If that's the first thing you teach someone, and you teach them to pay attention to that concept, they're gonna be paying attention to that concept instead of just lifting heavier or trying to jump higher. They're gonna say, how do I pull energy out of the ground? Then the answer is, how do I pull that energy up my body and move it through my body? And how do I recycle it within my body? How do I take this energy and start working with it? So how do I convert gravity to momentum, to forces going through my body? Everything is relative to gravity. And so rope teaches you to pay attention to the gravity, the quality of gravity, what it feels like, how you relate to gravity, how well you relate to gravity, what parts of your body relate to gravity smoothly and efficiently, what parts feel kind of janky. And it allows you to take stock of what is working and what is not working, what is optimized and what can need a little bit more nuance and detail. And so when you're a technical athlete, this is crucial. This is your whole life, is how can I nuance this more? And a lot of the time we're trying to think of like larger concepts or smaller concepts of like, move your arm this direction, get this foot out faster. But the problem is that we're not paying attention to it relative to the whole and not seeing how it changes. And that's what rope flow helps us do. It helps us create simple and safe conditions in order to learn base movement patterns and then clean them up to a really high level efficiency to then take the ones that we like and convert them to our sport. So that's the main ideas that I really like about rope flow. So I'm at the park. This is the bag of wonders. In this bag, I've brought several things. I've brought my running shoes with a little bit of cushioned sole, my Vivo barefoots, which have absolutely no sole and all nuance. And these are my nuance and finesse and precision shoes. And then I have my basketball shoes, which support my feet because I broke my leg. I fractured my leg in 2 places and my feet still need a little bit more feeling to them and feedback and support. So I actually use these as my feedback shoes because I have more structure and it allows my foot to get more information from different directions, but still protects it by allowing me a little bit of cushion on the bottom. So every single object serves a purpose in its specificity. This is a club, and it's very similar to rope flow, but it's one-handed and heavier, and you can chuck it around a little differently, but it's the same fascial patterns. This is the big boy. He's heavy. He'll make you strong. This is a medium to heavy rope. I bought this one online, and it's good for starting, but it can be a little bit heavy on the shoulders if you don't have super strong shoulders. This is my medium rope. It is homemade. And it's just allows the shoulders to work a little bit more, because this one will tire out your shoulders and make you focus on your core. But this one, you can really nuance and push range further in your shoulders because you don't have to work so hard for it. This is my light rope. You can move it fast, but you have to have a high level of precision to handle it. And this is my speed rope. If I miss a move with this, it hurts and leaves a welt on my leg and it punishes me. But you can go really fast, which is pretty fun. Last but not least, I have my band rope, and this actually kind of imitates the elasticity of fascia, and if you rope flow with it, it feels very different. In my rope flow session, I'm going to use all of these things, and I'm going to use them as needed because I'm going to figure out what I need and what object would help me learn this movement better. Anyways, I'm going to learn these movements by exploring, and I could systematically go through all these things, but I like to ask myself, what rope do I actually need to use? Because each rope will teach you something different, and it's about choosing the right teacher. Chosen the medium rope because I just kind of want to finesse a little bit today. I want to start a little light. The rope you start out with should be respectful of how warmed up your body is, and I felt like I needed a little more dynamic stuff in my day-to-day because I've only done yoga. I feel like this is allowing me to kind of find the ground, find my feet. And I love these little steps. What I really like about rope is that you can start by grounding yourself and learning to move from the spine and the upper body only, generating all this force with your legs, but not having to nuance your legs. And then once you have that, then you can find yourself, take a step, bring the energy back in. I'm actually gonna go up to heavy rope for a minute. I'm using this rope to give my feet a little more input. Now that I've kind of lightly turned them on, I'm going to swing this at kind of a medium speed, really figure out how the legs contribute to this thing. Because if you try and overwork with your arms, you'd be exhausted. That's the other thing about ropes. Depending on the length of the rope, you're gonna need a different movement because this is all about something feeling good. Here's the thing, I'm just playing around with dragon roll. People are trying to do 10 different rope flow moves, or people are trying to accumulate all these rope flow moves, and while they're really good and they can teach you things, kind of like playing a scale in music. You're gonna be way better at your instrument if you can master moving between the notes fluidly and understand the notes really well and hit them really cleanly. And even this rope, this is a huge rope. So if I hold it at the ends, this rope requires me to make enormous moves in order for this to feel good, or even taking like huge steps. Whew. Now I'm gonna hit myself. Now I'm gonna go shorter on that medium rope. Lighter rope, moving at this speed. This is where you really start to understand gravity, because I can't put the same oomph behind this rope as the other rope because this rope is a little bit porous and I have to learn how to work with it. Last but not least, club. Club is the exact same thing as rope. What rope has shown you is how the left hand works with the right. And I could do everything the same with club flow, but it's not really easy. Club requires a different touch. It's a different implement. To make my arm club-like is antithetical to making it rope-like. And so you have to realize, like, now the shoulder actually moves more like a rope, and the elbow and the wrist are like joints similar to that of the club, but there's just littler spirals. There's more consequences with the club than the rope. The club is a more complicated object, and it's less forgiving. That's what I always say about javelin. Javelin is insanely unforgiving, and that's why it's hard. It's not like a ball that can rotate all kinds of directions. It has one direction that it can spin well. And if you can't, then it hurts you. So these are all ways that we can manipulate objects. And you can apply these strategies or tactics to any sport. And it's interesting how far away we've gotten from producing basic power to moving into using Olympic lifting mainly as the main way that we train athletes. It's like this really stiff bar, which is very hard to master. And if we become like the objects that we use, then we're moving to learn like stiff bars. And if we actually start to work with more fluid-like things, like ropes, we learn fluidity. And if we can take our fluidity, we can take the best of the rope and the best of the weightlifting and mix them together, now you start moving in a very powerful way. So I'm doing Wonderwall by Timid. I've realized the last thing that I haven't really done is nuance my feet, and that was my mistake today. This is what I'm realizing now, and this is part of the learning process. Sometimes you're going to realize the order that you need to do something in, and feet first is always actually a pretty grounding principle. We do not give our feet enough challenges anymore. We walk on flat surfaces constantly and often in a straight line, and as athletes we're often all go or all slow. And then when we injure ourselves or we retire, we don't know how to go at medium speed or slow speed, and we don't know how to nuance things. We have more power than we do finesse. When I was trying new things, that's what I noticed. I thought, it's incredible how low my finesse is in other sports. or in other skills. And the more I started figuring out what the most important skills were, what the Pareto's law of athleticism skills were, I thought, these are so simple. Things that are simple often hold the truth. They're beautiful. So these shoes are gonna force me to get into my feet. And I hate doing this in public, but I'm going to. We often load our feet before we practice nuancing them with nothing. You can't see my foot waves beautifully right now. So now I'm trying to pretend like I'm churning, like my feet are pushing through things that aren't ground. And then this way my abs become connected to my feet, but it is all about the foot nuance, and then the abs turn on relative to what your feet are doing. This is why we have Chinese medicine and acupressure points. You can even pretend like you're doing those dance moves. Oh, see, I don't have control unless my feet are pushing against the ground. This is funny because it's like some people look at this and be like, it's sexual. I'm like, well, actually, I just kind of want my core to be on relative to my feet. We're so scared of doing things that might appear raunchy or sexual that we literally stop ourselves from becoming more athletic. And that's what a culture that has sexual expression moves like. I've warmed up my hips, I've warmed up my toes, I've warmed up my core, I've got my shoulders going. And now I've got nuance from the feet. So I can't rely on the shoe to do the work for me. So it was great for lighting up my feet, but it's not great for nuance work. And the nuance shoe like this one, I don't really want to bounce around to Emma piano and it's too hard on my foot. So it's all about timing. Recycle energy back through and around, change direction. So this is just patterns right now. And I don't know if I can add too much intention. I could go up, catch. I could do circles basically with intention. To do a figure eight and hit my feet the way I want to do it, they don't work the ground properly. They just spin out and I take my weight off of it and seeing how much can I grind out of the ground. Also, my hit rate is at 153. Ooh. Where hair is interesting, because if you continue to carry things, you need to start involving your head. So if you're gonna throw, there it is, longer rope, too long. Right, javelin throw with rope. See, too far forward. It's all about knowing your limits and playing within them. This is the thing, we do this shit all the time. We stray too far out of our comfort zone thinking that we're being tough, and then we experience pain. And we think that pain is a price for discomfort, or it can be. And I've got this rule. My rule is follow curiosity first, and then follow excitement. And excitement is outside of your comfort level because you've never been there before. Or that's the idea, at least. There's something novel here. It's exciting. Newish to you, maybe not the first time, but it's a new concept, and that is exciting to us. And when we're in a state of excitement, we don't become anxious. We don't become worried about what we're doing. We don't go into fight or flight mode. We actually become way better at problem solving. The thing is that it just takes a moment more to figure out what you're curious about, instead of just pushing through some pain threshold. When you figure out what you're curious about, you figure out the next place to untangle the ropes from each other. It's like untangling headphones. You got to find your way through it. You can't just pull at any one point. And when you're in discomfort, or when you're in fear, anxiety, it's because you don't really have a plan, or it's because you've jumped too far and you were following intensity and the feeling of more energy and harder work and power, and you weren't following the chain of precision. And this is where the thing, we get trapped in the power route. And we have to find ways to revisit precision over and over and over again. We have to revisit the concept of Pareto's law. What is it, 20% of the work that'll give me 80% of the results? And I started asking myself that question every single day, which is why I didn't make a training program leading up to the last Olympics. And I just woke up and I said, what does my body need today? And I knew the different categories I could choose from, but the answer was always what I was most excited about, and sometimes the most scared of. So you start what you're scared most of, and you find a way to make it fun and exciting and simple. So anyway, that is mostly what I have for today. Handstands. My nuance is at my shoulders there. I love working on this. It's the same problem-solving mechanism